before the statement from the chairperson.
Right,
yeah. So many members of staff had actually received this statement on email of him explaining what decision had been arrived at. So the opening was very interesting because he said, as you may be aware, the Commission and I have mutually, mutually agreed on a structured transition in the office of the Commission Secretary, Chief Executive Officer. And now he was writing to them to express his sincere appreciation. So when he says that, as you may be aware, it confirms that indeed there was speculation that things may have happened while there. But all the same, if you are to look at what he's then said, I wish to thank the commissioners, senior management, and all members of staff for the cooperation, support, and collegiality extended to me throughout my tenure. And when you look at that, usually when it's a cordial separation, you'll even see the person who is leaving singling out some of the names of people that he worked with, even if they are past commissioners. Without reading so much into it, you don't see that. It's just blanket reference to the commissioners and senior management. But also, this is a man that had not been without what you call controversy, because you recall that after Ezra Chiloba left in the circumstances that he did, I think it was in 2018 or thereabout, when he was sacked by the commission of Wafula Chebukati, and thereafter there was a lot of some serious antagonism on who then becomes the new CEO. You recall that the commission was unable to recruit the successor of Ezra Chiloba for a very long time, for the simple reason that the commission was not reconstituted in good time. It is only up until the Cherera 4 commissioners came in September of 2021 that they were able now to start the process of recruitment properly, because all the other attempts that had been tried before were stopped by different people that went to court to petition against such. So coming in March 2022, at a critical moment, it was just about 5 months to the general election. This was a man that had so much experience, of course, having run the repeat presidential election, if you recall, in October of 2017. So it was easy for him to be the man running the commission for the period of 2022 general election. But now, shortly after, he was left by the exiting commissioners. The Wafula Chebukati team retired in January of 2023, and therefore he had this not very pleasant responsibility of steering the commission up until now that we are talking. So when you look at the language by the chairperson as well in the statement that he sends out, you don't see a lot of roses in it, because when he says that the commission today announces the formal exit of its CEO, saying that after reaching an agreement to terminate his services. So there is terminate. Who is terminating? I mean, it's an active verb, I would imagine. Terminate by mutual, his own services. Yeah, exactly, by mutual consent. And this, in effect, brings to an end his tenure in IEBC.
Like as if termination was not
enough.
Was not clear enough.
So the tenure ends, and then continues to say, and marks the beginning of the process of recruitment of a new CEO and secretary to the commission.
As in moving on swiftly.
Yeah, it sounds like this commission could not have waited. It couldn't wait to hire a new CEO who is extremely important to run the next election. So very interesting movements that we've seen.
Yeah.
But obviously now seeing today that we have a new acting CEO for a whole 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months. You were looking for a new CEO, but this only lacked for 6 months. That's not a short time, knowing too well where it pushes us if you to look at the election operation cycle.
I'd like us to listen to the chair himself, Ferasta Sethekon, you know, in his own words about how they came to part ways.
We have not yet discussed and approved procurement of technology that we will use in 2027. And when that time comes, we will, of course, as part of our accountability and transparency, brief the nation on that process. So we've made those changes and we'll still make more. We will make sure that with the support of a reputable institution or firm that has the human resource experience, they can be able to guide us.
Right, we'll get you the right one, because we also want to talk about what else he said with respect to more changes coming through. He said they've made changes? but there will be more. Jay, so clearly there's quite a bit of cleaning house that's happening at the commission.
They have to, because you realize that this commission is facing a lot of, they came in at a time when IBC was facing trust deficit, and therefore they must work very hard to rebuild it. And part of the things that they are doing, including the release of the former CEO, Hussein Marjan, I want to believe is just the first step. But I have to also say that this commission is also walking on eggshells. Every of their steps is being watched by the Kenyan people, simply because what we have witnessed previously with the commissions and the secretariat had not inspired confidence. And therefore, they really have to be careful in the manner in which they do this cleanup. And it starts by looking at the replacement of the acting CEO that have been put in office today. Hussein Marjan had 2 deputies that equally could have been given the opportunity either to serve as the acting CEO, but they chose the director of elections. So that is an indication to what the chairman is saying, that they will make changes. This is just the first one, and more will be coming. But let me just say that mutually separating, whenever I see that statement, I see it as trying to make some cover-ups. That you're trying to say that somebody is admitting guilt, but then again, you're risking him from suffering the necessary consequences that involves the sins or whatever acts of omission they have committed in their duty in office. So when I saw we have mutually separated, then to me it indicated some sense of, if I agree to this, then you also agree not to do this. Because there have been a lot of talks about the conduct of the secretariat at IBC led by Hussein Marjan. And as a way of building trust, this commission really needed to do something. You remember just last week, the United Opposition visited Anniversary Towers, and one of their demands was that this gentleman had to leave office. Let me just say that this commission really needs to do 3 important things in terms of building trust, because as it is, a lot of their actions are treated with skepticism. The first thing they really need to do is to assure the Kenyan public that they are able and capable of delivering an election that meets the stakeholders' needs, but also the legal requirements. And things around procurement are always very delicate.
Yeah.
When you have a CEO acting for 6 months, it means the new CEO who will come into office will have very little to do with procurements. When questions are asked, the commission really must ensure that whatever they do during this period inspires confidence in the Kenyan people. The other thing they must also do to build this trust forming is to share more, inform Kenyans more, because any action that seems to be shrouded in secrecy will puncture the trust that they're trying to build. Therefore, there's a need for them to communicate, and communicate in a structured way. Because when you see the letter or the email that Marjan sends to his colleagues, he says they have mutually agreed to separate. When you see the press release from the commission, the chairman, it says, we have terminated. So clarity around what exactly happened really needs to come to. We understand that a decision was actually made the previous week, but then they were back and forth. So what is this that they were negotiating about? So clarity in terms of the processes and the structure that they deal with going forward would be very, very important. And lastly, for me, it would be integrity. they must be seen to be operating above board.
Yeah.
There are no questions around it.
You know, when you mentioned the issue of trust and integrity and independence, it was rather curious, and I hope we can, you know, play some of those pictures now. It was rather curious that just preceding this announcement, that commissioners of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission were meeting Felix Koskei, who is the
Chief of
Staff.
And Head of Public Service.
Take a look at that. And this meeting, per his Twitter account, didn't happen at IEBC headquarters, didn't happen at a neutral venue. It happened at Felix Koskei's office. Just rather curious, especially, and maybe we can come to you, Linus, especially considering the fact that we have seen with previous commissions, the whole idea of interference by different state actors, by different political parties. Was this a good look for this right before such a big announcement as parting ways with a CEO of a secretariat?
Look what it has done. It has fueled speculation that do the changes have something to do with that meeting? I think the Commission will always need to be very careful with the optics. I remember one time that the previous IEBC needed financing, and I think they had to cross all the way to Arambe House to negotiate with what they call the line ministry, which is the Ministry of Interior. And the optics don't look very good because they start introducing an aspect of compromising the first letter in the IEBC, which is the I, the independent. But coming to the changes that we are now seeing, it was bound to happen. This was going to have, it was going to happen because it is a new team, and they find a commission secretary that has been acting. One thing that the commission will definitely have to deal with is the hierarchy question in IEBC. In the previous commissions, we've seen a lot of infighting. We've seen the commission secretary, the CEO, on one side, and at some point, fighting the chairman.
Yeah.
We saw that with Oswago and
Chiloba.
No, Isaac Hassan.
Yes, that's right.
And then Chiloba and Chebukati.
Yeah.
What a match. And what this does is it makes things untidy, which is why it'll be good to see this IEBC commission asserting itself, first of all, in terms of the hierarchy. The commissioners are actually top of the hierarchy, and then the secretariat is under that. There should be no case where you find a commission secretary leading the commission one way and the 7 commissioners struggling for oxygen within the same commission. If they get that right, then that's the beginning of order, at least within the commission, because we've seen very ugly developments there before, where you can clearly see. In some cases, it was the CEO who is running the show, and then in some cases, the commission chairman is just looking like a mere political figurehead. And from what we've seen in every election, everyone carries their cross. But I noticed that the crosses of the commissioners are bigger than the crosses of the secretariat.
Yeah. You know, the issue about optics and perception that can sometimes be seen as fact. And let's not run away from this. And I hope that, you know, they will start to take this issue of optics very seriously. We've seen this before in different instances. You will remember the now former head of IPOA standing side by side with the police during the investigations of the death of Albert Ojwang in police cells. Not a good look. He's now, you know, in the Court of Appeal. But some of these instances then just compromise the stature of the office. That's not all. You will remember when the judiciary, led by the Chief Justice, went to State House for a meeting. Also, some of those things that just continue to dent the reputation and the stature of some of these office holders. And this might just be one of them, particularly more so for IEBC, that has struggled with the issue of credibility, commission after commission, election after election. So may have well been an innocent meeting, but it's important to note that some of these issues are things that'll come up. And are things that, you know, send wrong signals, whether rightly or not. But one of the things that they have to deal with now is also the issue of the work that lies ahead for this new acting CEO, indeed the Secretariat and the Commission. And one of those is boundaries delimitation. We are way past the deadline. We now have 18 months to an election. Is this something that is possible? Even if it were done, would it apply in the 2027 election? Let's listen to Erastus Ethekon, who is the chair, on this issue of boundaries delimitation.
We have challenges in terms of meeting those constitutional timelines, and I've explained the factors that led to that. The absence of the commissioners to undertake the policy decisions and oversight around the boundary review. A first approach is the most constitutionally sound and legally defensible course of action.
So, Sam, it's phased,
Yep.
And we'll come to the Wakili in the room on the legally defensible course of action, because I saw you having a reaction to that. But phased, how does that happen? Budgetary constraints, but also there's the big issue, by the way, of a census,
Yep.
whose results were
Disputed.
disputed and, in fact, you know, by the courts. So where do you go from here with respect to this issue?
You know, the troubling reality of that question, because even when the chairperson is saying that it will be a phased approach, I'm just wondering how that will work, because already there's the question of unconstitutionality, and anyone can go to court and seek to have the constituencies that will be taken to the election of 2027 to be unconstitutional because they've not been reviewed between 8 and 12 years, which expired in March 2024. But as you say, the question of census that 3 counties of the north, that is Wajeru, Garissa and Mandera, went to court, and there's an order stopping the utilization of that data in going ahead with the boundaries delimitation. Of course, there has been different arguments, including from as part of the Secretariat within IBC, that it's actually possible to delimitate the rest of the country but reserve proportionately what is supposed to be for the 3 counties. But that will still be problematic because, again, remember, as we speak, the constituencies that will be taken to the election of 2027 are established based on the census data of the year 2009. So we're already 18 years late. So a child who was born in 2009 will have a constituency that is as old as reflecting when they were being born. That's problematic because I would imagine that the framers of the Constitution wanted that we have constituencies as equal as possible because these are units of election, but also continuously we are seeing the government using them as the units of service delivery. Of course, that is arguable given the different judgments that have come from the courts on the question of NGCDF, but the truth of the matter is you find even members of parliament, they use the constituencies to bid for resources for their areas. So really it is unfortunate that we have to find ourselves here because of mistakes of our own making. Now, if we are to say first, meaning these constituencies, even if you delimited them, they're not useful for the 2027 election. That takes us to the census of 2029 because there'll be a census. So does it say that once you finish the election of 2027 in August next year, you do the post-election reviews in court, that may take you to the end of 2027. So we are very busy in 2028 doing the boundaries delimitation. Then in 2029 we are conducting another census. So what data are you going to use? Is it the data of 2019 or the data of 2029? Which I think these are critical questions that first of all, the most important thing is for someone to go to court. Remember there were Jan team went to court seeking advisory on what should happen, but then the Supreme Court stated that they cannot apply their minds on a question that the Commission of IEBC has not applied their minds. Now the Ethicon team is applying their minds. They're deciding that this should be a phased approach. So very problematic, difficult to achieve, but we wait to hear the wisdom from the team. At the same time, just before you move to the next one, as you were talking about the question of that meeting with Felix Koskei, I was reading Article 249 of the Constitution, which is on Chapter 15, commissions and independent offices. 249.1 says that, 249.2a, the commissions and the holders of independent offices are subject only to this Constitution and the law, and B, are independent and not subject to direction or control by any person or authority. You need to remember, how did the Ethicon team find themselves in office? There was an application. So first of all, there was an establishment of a selection panel. The selection panel advertised, guys, come and apply for these jobs. They applied. They were interviewed. They were found to be meeting the minimum requirements. Then they were nominated. They were then taken to Parliament for vetting. Parliament okayed them and they were taken to the President for appointment. They have taken the oath of office after vetting. Felix Koskei is the head of public service appointed by the President, who is a political leader. He has not been vetted to that office. Chief of Staff serving the President and, of course, helping the President coordinate affairs within government. They cannot be consulting and reporting to such an office, because if you have to look at the Constitution does not establish the office of head of public service. So in that, what exactly were they discussing? And you can see he's chairing.
Yes, he's at the head of the table.
And the commissioners are busy looking at him and listening to him. I don't know whether this was just a catch-up to check how you're settling in. And even then, why? Because they do not need such kind of guidance from the head of public service for them to conduct themselves. They have the Constitution and they have the establishing act called IEBC Act, and they have so many other so many other laws and regulations, including the Elections Act of which year? I think 2011, but reviewed several times. So really, that didn't look very good. It reminds me of that meeting that Wafula Chebukati and team were called to, chaired by Chief Justice Martha Koome. That was supposed to be an election coordination committee that also included the different ministries in government. There was Interior, there was ICT Ministry, and many others. So it was supposed to be chaired by the CJ to help coordinate the elections. And Wafula Chebukati wrote a letter and said, the mandate given to the IEBC is exclusive to the IEBC. There cannot be an election management committee. We cannot be consulting here. I remember at that time, so many people, I think a few people went to court, and everyone else scattered, including the Chief Justice, never stepped in that meeting. So the Ethicon team must study what did Chebukati team go through, because that doesn't look good at all. Time to gather, time to scatter. Do you, Linus?
Look, the Ethicon team is only settling in. I think they've done 6 to 7 months now. They came in July last year. And this is the wilderness of one of the most complex areas in Kenyan, in the Kenyan national life, which is electoral politics. And we are caught in between a transition in many ways. When I see the head of public service, and I think he was just innocently sitting there until some happened. He was sitting there doing the old way of things, meeting a department of government, as the Electoral Commission used to be. And the optics are not fine. I think we've agreed on that. First, when there's such meetings, don't have anybody at the head of the table for optics. And even they should also learn from the big meetings they hold out there. When President Ruto went to the White House, and the talks between the two sides, you sit along the table together, and with the two presidents sitting in the middle of each delegations.
That's right.
It gives an impression of equality. At least there's no boss in the room. Look at that, where head of public service Felix Koskei is seated. It reminded me of G.K. Kareithi, those days of head of public service, or Simin Nyachai, authority, and then the rest of you will just be sort of listening. The IEBC needs the support of other sectors as well for it to be able to exercise its mandate. And they need to be treated as independent. So when you host them for a simple meeting like this, don't create an impression that you are coming to show them what to do and how to work. To the question of delimitation of boundaries, I watched the chair, Ethekonedung Erastus, and in a very polite way, he was saying, guys, it's not possible. Concentrate on things that are happening, like the election must happen in 2027. And remember, he kept referring to possibility or avoiding things that could compromise the preparation for the 2027 election. And talking of the, maybe we can just listen to him as he talks about meeting constitutional timelines in 1.5.
We have challenges in terms of meeting those constitutional timelines, and I've explained the factors that led to that. The absence of the commissioners to undertake the policy decisions and oversight around the boundary review. A first approach is the most constitutionally sound and legally defensible course of action.
Yeah. The absence of commissioners, that is an it wasn't to me moment. Like, we've just arrived, so...
Don't expect us.
Yes, we've just arrived, so, this question should have been asked a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And then secondly, the issue around the phased approach. Phase what? You can't move until the issues, especially the challenges in court, are addressed appropriately. You can't use the KNBS data because it's disputed. And until that dispute is cleared by the courts, you can't phase out anything. I think this was smart in terms of just how polite it was, that, hey, fellow Kenyans, let's concentrate on the 2027 general election with matters as they stand right now. In reference to the Article 89 of the Constitution, which really sets the upper limits of constituencies. So there are 290. And I can't exceed, and we can't decrease, which of course is the correct interpretation of what the Constitution says.
Now, boundaries, delimitation, but then again, like you were saying, Jay, the issue of procurement and indeed what happens now, technology, that was at the heart of the dispute at the Supreme Court. Let's listen.
Imetumika Uganda juzi, hizo Kim's kit failed.
Yeah, issues again here. That's where the real...
Exactly, a lot of work for the Commission to just try and assure the public, because the sentiments by DAP-K party leader Eugene Wamalwa is shared by a number of Kenyans who still feel that if we do not trust these kits that we are going into an election with, then what is the need of such election? And therefore, when I heard the chairperson speak the other day and saying that they will release a revised elections plan, it is important that they do it soonest and update Kenyans at each and every step, because that is the only way you'll have the confidence, because Kenyans will feel some sense of transparency in your actions. Otherwise, what will remain is the cloud of secrecy around the happenings at anniversary towers. The other thing that is also very important is that the secretariat that is in charge with handling this election is it still the same one? Because when you say that we will be doing some of these changes, Kenyans expect that the people who do the bulk of the work, like LK says, the burden of the work at IBC is done by the Secretariat. So what assurance are you giving the public that this Secretariat too is one that can give us a transparent, free and fair election? So that team, I hope something that keeps them awake all the time is building their credibility and trust in an election process, because previous commissions have fell short on this. If they cannot do that, then they will suffer the same consequences that the previous commissions have. So there's a lot of things that they need to do, but build the trust.
Yeah, and you know, the Secretariat, like you say, is most important in undertaking the work. And there's a lot of good men and women who work at the IEBC Secretariat, but you've got to feel for this commission that has been through so much upheaval, so many changes. If you take a look at the IEBC today, I mean, it changes in a year, and the question is, where is the institutional memory? Of course, there is a Secretariat and many of the staff there who haven't moved about quite a bit. But when you take a look at the side of the commissioners, so the first commission we had under, you know, the late Wafula Chebukati, then that changed. 3 were left. Another 4 positions were vacant for, was it almost 2 years before retired President Uhuru Kenyatta then had the now famous, or shall we say infamous, Cherera 4. And then right after that, the Cherera 4 are kicked out, and then the other 3 retire because their term comes to an end. And then there is, you know, Marjan, and then he's leaving. He's leaving with a new set of commissioners, all of them entirely new. And then now there's an acting CEO. I mean, and even for the deputies, as I understand it, their contracts are also coming to an end sometime next year, in 2027.
Yep.
I mean, you know, where is this bank of stability and security and consistency? And like I've said, there is many people at the Secretariat, but all of these changes at a very high level have to do something to an institution or an organization. And I do not envy this commission, because they have to steady the ship really quickly. If he's saying there's going to be more changes after Marjan's exit, when do those happen? And in the whole time, they're procuring, they're registering voters. I mean...
But I think, Yvonne...
That's why I think the country is waiting for a commission that will build an IEBC that is not guided only by the term limits, if I can put it that way, and election cycles. IEBC is an independent commission, a constitutional commission that exists at all times. And what would really be ideal is if this team of Ethicon that has just come in now dedicate to building a secretariat that can handle elections throughout their time there and in a credible way, building addressing the trust issues. Because let's face it, when you see some of the things that come out during election disputes, especially in court, and how some of these elections are bungled, the Secretariat is not an innocent place. It's a place that also contains a lot of mischief. That is where the team that is deployed to the rest of the country for elections comes from, maybe presiding officers, returning officers, and all this. So there is a need to actually build a strong secretariat, because if I were to compare it with the public service, the commissioners come in and go. They're sort of the elected wing of the commission. The secretariat is the public service. They're like civil servants. They're supposed to serve there until retirement, meaning then that their quality must be addressed. Their integrity should be above board. They cannot be players in the mischief that we've seen attending to elections from time to time.
Sam, you want
I was going to say that this is not their making. It's the political class to blame here, because they're the ones who cause all this trouble. And yes, a secretariat without an oversight body, that's problematic. And this has happened, if you recall, at the time between the departure of Wafula Chebukati and 2 commissioners and the appointment of new ones, at the time between the resignation of Consolata Nkatha and three other commissioners, including Roslyn Nakombe, who had resigned many months before, up until the Cherera 4 came in. So there are always moments of no proper oversight by the commission. During this time, what is the Secretariat exactly doing? Between this time, January 2023 and July 2025, what was the Secretariat under Hussein Marjan doing with the resources of the Commission? And not just a responsibility by the top management, but also there are so many managers within the IEBC, senior officials. When you go to the county level, there are officers. At the constituency level, there are permanent officers. If they are not properly oversighted, how are they supposed to run a commission? So those moments may have dealt a blow to this commission, and therefore I'm not surprised when Ethicon is saying that they are going to embark on some serious reforms within the institution to not only do what they must do, but to also build trust within the institution and credibility of elections. So really, I think this is a learning moment, because the Cherera 4 came forth after consensus between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. The Ethicon team has come in after the consensus between President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, of course, looking at the mechanisms of establishing a new commission. I just hope that this is the last one, that you'll ever have to have political leaders coming together to decide the fate of such an important institution like the IEBC. By now, if you have not nailed it on how we are supposed to reconstitute a selection panel, I think we're still joking under the new constitution.
And they sought divine intervention recently. Hopefully that is helpful as they go forward, and not just divine intervention for its own sake, but because...
Sorry, you mentioned it, and I remember it was the Evangelical
Alliance. Yes.
So then are they going to be moving to the next denomination and then...
Yes, all right. Let's just listen to Bishop Kitoto as we wind this up on some of the things that they deliberated on this week.
We have taken steps early enough to begin to address any issues that would show or would appear to cause the church to appear as though they are not taking action.
An important stakeholder nonetheless, but prayers, I guess, come in handy. And it's just to underscore, Sam, what you were saying. The chaos and the revolving doors at IEBC are by design. And sometimes not by the IEBC themselves, but by political actors. This just works perfectly for the political class every year. And every election cycle, there's procurement. Hey, your technology.
And prayers.
And prayers, right, yeah. I mean, look, there's a technology we use, I think, to run our newsroom affairs here. I don't believe we procure that technology.
At every election.
You're the boss. Do we procure this technology every year, every election cycle, every 5 years? I mean, we've used... For those who don't know Octopus, for the longest time, I don't understand what this is. New technology, every election cycle.
It's not from Venezuela.
That we can confirm. Let's take a break. When we come back... Sorry?
It's a phased approach.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well... Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about politics. Deputy President responding.
The people lecturing us about schools, about education, during their tenure, all these problems were manufactured when they were in office. Shida ya curriculum, shida ya no teachers, no classrooms, all these problems were manufactured when they were in office. And the only track record we know of when they were in office in that sector of education is selling land for a school here in Nairobi called Ruaraka.
Sasa simukutane tu kwa field after school mufanye kimenyano, you fight, you whatever. There was something that we used to call mengo. I don't know, no. It was kama niko na mengo na wewe, if we have beef, we don't settle it here, we wait for after school, we go out into the field, and then we do our thing, we sort out our issues. Tomorrow we are back in school like nothing happened. Sam.
I think the date is 10th of August, 2027.
Well, can we just do it before, maybe?
You know, the fascinating thing is that they're complaining about the challenges that we witnessed today. And indeed, at some point, Fred Matiang'i was in charge of education. Who was the deputy president? He's perhaps sitting or standing behind Kithure Kindiki, the deputy president. And I find this very unproductive because
exactly.
At the end of the day, it doesn't solve anything. So yes, there are sound bites, they are aired on Newsgang and other platforms. But the real problem is about education. Are there challenges in the transition of CBE?
Yes.
Indeed, there is. Are there challenges that teachers are experiencing having to educate the learners? Yes. Are parents hurting in terms of financing the education of their learners? The answer is yes. So instead of this bickering and fighting over who did what and who should have and didn't, because even Professor Kithure Kindiki, in that season, he was the deputy speaker of the Senate up to a certain point. Before then, he was the leader of majority at the Senate.
Before Mene Tekel.
Indeed. So really, if this was a sin, each of them has sinned. And I don't know who would be the first to throw a stone. But all the same, I think we're witnessing a very interesting scenario. If you look at Fred Matiang'i when he was speaking in a church in Murang'a County. I think the place is Gitugi. And this was one moment that we saw the united opposition coming together to speak in one voice. I look at last week as a moment that we've seen. Remember that in January, March of January, everyone was asking, where is the united opposition? Why? Because the president was very busy going across the country with the Nyota program, launching those events. Of course, there are many questions being raised about that, but he was visible. The united opposition, you'd see them at separate meetings, each at their own. But then after the Wetima church attack the Sunday before, then you see them this other week on Sunday. They were in that church in Gitugi, and also they had also gone to Nyeri. But in the same week, they held meetings with the Inspector General, Douglas Kanja, to talk about security situation and also what they had witnessed in Wetima, in Othaya, and also held a meeting with the IEBC where they complained about the issues that we were talking about in the earlier part. So I don't know whether this is the new strategy that the united opposition is speaking, that this is how they're going to address their affairs. Still, there's the question that you hear the president continuously saying, you are genderless, you're leaderless. I think they are now coming together. I don't know to what end, but it looks like it was a different week for the united opposition, Yvonne.
Yeah, that's what's happening on the side of the united opposition, but it's political, silly season, here we are. But the IEBC needs to do something about this early campaign that is taking place. You would honestly imagine that there is an election that's happening in the next 3 or 4 months. But on one hand, there's the united opposition. On the other hand, there is talk of a pre-election pact that's getting everybody hot under the collar. We will listen in a moment to Gladys Wanga 2-1 and those that follow in a moment. But let's listen to Gladys Wanga on just what's happening with this pre-election talks.
Wasikizane ile ng'ombe ikatwe katikati. ODM ichukue nusu, UDA ichukue nusu.
All right, so iyo ikatwe katikati, yeah? So let her elaborate a little bit more.
Governor ni Odi na president atakuwa ni wa broad based, ambaye sisi tutakuwa tumezungumza pamoja na wenzetu wa UDA.
And then how does the shareholding politics work exactly?
Kwa sababu tunataka Kenya moja, na Kenya ambayo inaleta kila mtu ndani. Si Kenya ambayo inasema wengine wakae ndani na wengine wakae nje. Si Kenya ambayo inasema wengine ni shareholders na wengine wanatembea tu hapo ndani.
Jay, yeah. Mara kukatwa katikati 50-50, wengine nje, wengine ndani.
That is actually what I wanted to say. You see Gladys Wanga in those three different frames, and you actually know that the firimbi ya siasa ilimepigwa.
She's the same person, yeah?
Yeah, she's the same.
Give her credit, yeah.
And
across the dress codes, she was consistent.
Yep. In trying to, what is it called? When you want to, you dress the part.
Yeah.
Yes, when she was at the church.
Yeah.
Religio Maria.
Yeah.
And I think all these were the same day.
Yes.
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 It was the same day.
There's a reason. Yes, exactly.
So it tells you that right now as politicians, you really need to have the uniform that matches the occasion, so that the messaging also does the same. But the fact that ODM and UDA have fallen in love with each other is a foregone conclusion. What we are seeing are just putting the processes to a trust deal. Because when you see Gladys, who is the chairperson, speak, when you see the interim party leader, Dr. Oburu Oginga, speak, and you see the president speak, then it tells you that there are things that are certainly in the works. And what remains for them is just to do an official signing ceremony, so that they will go into this election together. I think it's no longer a secret, because the leadership of ODM seems to be sold that UDA is their perfect fit as a partner or a coalition partner to the next election. And therefore, that is why you see them move together of late. I think I can't remember events in recent past that the president has not attended that belongs to ODM, and then the ODM brigade to attending the UDA ones. So that these two groups will work together is a foregone conclusion. What really now matters is how will they share the positions that they need to share, if at all those positions are there. What does then this mean to the body politics? It means that we're already seeing, just like you say, the campaigns are officially on. We are seeing the structures and form of what we are likely to see in 2027 August happening. And everybody's preparing his own shade. Who comes in, who goes out, and all that. And for me, that is why you also see the events happening, that Azimio is now being revived. And for what reason? If you ask me, for a third force that is waiting, the people that would not be comfortable in the united opposition with that formation will fall off to the new Azimio formation. The people that will fall off in this UDA ODM, because remember, they say it's UDA ODM, not Kenya Kwanza. And Kenya Kwanza as a coalition had other parties. So probably Azimio is a strategic special purpose vehicle for the orphans of the UDA ODM deal and united opposition, that if you don't really feel those formations, then you have somewhere that.
Yeah.
Because elections in this country, in the last, I think, 3 elections or 4 elections, we've seen people go as coalitions. You rarely go it alone. So all these things are preparing us for 2027.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not hear at some point late last year, around November or December, members of the ODM brigade saying, we will take nothing short of the number 2 position.
They did. And actually, it was the party leader.
Oburu Odinga, right? I remember that.
Yeah.
We will take nothing short of number 2. But it seems these negotiations are also happening at rallies, because he said this recently when it was an Onyi Tulia.
We are not going to look for less. Lakini Deputy President, usifikiria ya kwamba tunataka kiti yako, tunataka kukufukuza. Please, you are our friend, but as we negotiate, we are going to negotiate what our people deserve.
So it's keeping everybody happy. But what of the other people who might have expressed some concern? You remember Senator Danson Mungatana at that, was it an NGC?
Yes.
At State House, recently, raising some concerns. So where does that leave some of us? The president, of course, giving his reassurance that, by the way, UDA has the presidency, right? But party leader for ODM, Dr. Oburu Odinga, also sought to reassure those about this proverbial cake that we try to split every year.
We are not going to take anybody's share. We are only going to make sure that everybody gets their fair share in the national cake.
And of course, that cake will be eaten in Singapore.
Mimi ninawahakikishia ya kwamba nitawapeleka Canaan, na hiyo Canaan tutapitia Singapore.
Sorry, my mistake. The cake will be eaten in Canaan. Sorry, I got the facts wrong.
It can be confusing.
Well, yeah, Canaan, Singapore, Malaysia, China, but Canaan it is. Yep. Linus, what do you make of all of this back and forth with this pre-election pact? Some orphans and some people might be left to the wayside. The Secretary General, obviously, one of those that's heavily opposed to this proposed arrangement.
First, I really feel it for Dr. Oburu Odinga, who took over from the late Raila Odinga's party leader of the ODM, because clearly in terms of at least the geography, it seems he didn't get the map because geographically it doesn't make sense to go through Singapore on your way to Canaan because you're basically going off course first. By large.
Yes, actually.
It's not Nainda.
That's what it is.
You have to cross the Indian Ocean. Canaan is supposed to be in Israel, somewhere in
the Middle East.
Yeah, in the Middle East. But you have to go to Singapore first.
It's Far East.
I tell you, the people in Singapore and Canaan, Israel, or wherever, must be biting their tongues every time because they're mentioned so often in this country.
Yes. And staying home, Gladys Wanga, the chair of ODM, wants the cow divided. I mean, I don't know whether it's my background, but it sounds really scary. That's the intention of the party leader. And I think these are troubling analogies because our politicians talk of eating this country. When it's the country, they want to eat it, party, they eat it, government, they eat it. And now they have a cow to divide into two. So I don't know, is it vertical?
Tell us, yes. If there is anybody who understands. Cows.
Yeah. First, no cow should be divided into two.
Okay.
Yeah, unless it's
whichever way.
Yes, it's actually been designated for slaughter. But in terms of what she's talking, nothing should die. Not the party, not the country, not the government. Don't cut it. No knives should be used. We need to transition from this mindset of eating, because eating has gotten us into a lot of trouble as a country. But Oburu is navigating a very difficult space. And then he's also leading a party that is divided, and he's not admitted it, but it is a divided party. A party divided down the middle because the one section of leaders have made up their minds. They basically want to support President William Ruto for re-election. And that's where I think you hosted one, and I want us to listen to the party's Secretary General Sifuna, who in 2.8 says what some of his colleagues in ODM have become today.
When we were discussing these issues, it was not about positions and which tribe gets what. We have turned into the Rigathi Gachagwas of today. We are the ones speaking the language of shares. We are the ones saying the cow should be divided into two halves and 50-50. I mean, we, for all the condemnation that they extend to Rigathi Gachagua, they are the ones speaking the language of shares now because they have tested government power.
How accurate is that? We just saw Gladys Wanga dividing a cow into two. And let's see again in 2:15 when he spoke about who is really running the show in ODM.
The last money we expended as ODM officially was for the celebrations in Mombasa, and it was a fraction of what we saw there. So I am telling you, I know for a fact, there is parallel funding for activities clothed in ODM colors, and they go around running around saying they are ODM delegates. Those rallies are not financed from party headquarters or party coffers.
And I remember he asked you to ask them.
Yeah, I asked him, you know, who's funding?
Yeah.
Ask them.
Have you?
Who is them? Who is them?
I don't know. So I don't know who to ask.
Well, then I think you have an incomplete assignment.
Yes, but look. They allow people to. We have been in this country before. Some of the things the Secretary General of the party was saying to me here on Tuesday night, and the manner in which he was saying them, that is not just a mere disagreement over, you know, what to have for breakfast or what snacks to serve at the next ODM meeting. These are serious, fundamental questions, matters on which, I mean, they are diametrically opposed. There's no doubt about that. And even with what we saw with, you know, Ruth Odinga also, you know, saying, hey, there's a problem. There's something going on here. There's talks. And by the way, all of these, as always happens in politics, originated internally. Mm-hmm. Remember, even during the funeral of Raila Odinga, when Hassan Joho said, kuna watu wanataka kutufukuza. These are not creations of the media, of the public. These are all statements all of us as a nation were witnessing for ourselves and wondering, wait, hang on a second, what's going on? There's lots of shadow boxing. Watu wanauza chama usiku. ODM is not a bedroom party. We've heard all of these things with another saying, you know, we're going straight on into 2027, supporting the re-election of, you know, of President William Ruto in 2027. These are not just mere differences of opinion. These are differences in how things work, you know, going forward. And meanwhile, you see on the other end, UDA is, for what it's worth, organized, strong. They know where they're going. They have their delegates. They're saying, touting how they've got all these huge number of delegates that are there, you know, ever, according to them, in their party that they didn't even witness in Jubilee at the time. These are some of the issues, you see, that are happening on one end. And I believe there was a tweet, was it from Millie Odhiambo as well, saying, you know, look at us, things are a little, you know, here.
Raising funds.
Meanwhile, UDA is organized. In fact, so organized are they that the party leader of UDA, President William Ruto, has this to say about those in the opposition. He says they seem to be rather confused. 2:14.
The rudderless, the leaderless, the agendaless, the planless opposition, that you are an opposition without alternative.
Right, and You know, the interesting bit is that when you do the job you do, there are many things you remember. President William Ruto has actually used the same words against ODM.
Yes, exactly,
he has also used them against ODM, that is Raila Odinga, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula. But Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi eventually worked with him in 2022. He used the same words against Raila Odinga and company. He actually went ahead to even say that they just meet kupanga viti na vyeo. Sisi tunapanga mambo ya wananchi. So here we are. ODM is working with the UDA, or rather, I don't know whether it's the whole of ODM or part of the ODM.
So they're out of the rudderless bracket.
Yeah, they're out. And now the person he worked with while using those terms is on the other side in the name of Rigathi Gachagua. And therefore the president is now calling them rudderless, leaderless, and many other things less. But I think if anyone had any doubt of the moment that we're in today in the country, let's listen to what Oburu Oginga believes we are at.
I don't see them campaigning anywhere. They are just in one region, in one area. Ndio wanazunguka hapo, lakini rais anazunguka kila mahali Kenya.
So that's the confirmation you needed.
Yeah.
The other guys who are leaderless are not
ODM
anywhere.
Right.
It's not ODM.
Yeah.
Rais ako kila mahali anazunguka.
Right. Also, it's interesting that he says he doesn't see them campaigning anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so they're campaigning.
They're campaigning.
Yeah. They're
it's an admission that they're campaigning.
The party leader of ODM admits they're campaigning.
Yeah.
But the deputy party leader of ODM has a different opinion. Let's listen to Godfrey Osotsi on what he thinks about what's happening.
Naona hapo mbele iko giza. Kwa sababu tutaingia hivi, alafu yule mwingine kwa sababu hako na serikali aende tena atafute mwingine waongee na yeye. Pengine ampatie vitu mingi kuliko ile angetupatia sisi.
Now, then, he believes that had Raila Odinga lived to this day, or up to 2027, he would have been on the ballot.
Alikuwa hai, alikuwa naenda kusimama upresident 2027. Alikuwa naenda kusimama upresident 2027. Me, I know. Lakini bahati mbaya Mungu amemchukua.
Yeah, so I don't know what value that adds because the facts are here.
Sinimi ndio nakushu.
Me, I know. Let me tell you, Yvonne. On light note. Yeah, so really it's confusing what exactly they want, because you listen to them in the rallies, you can see the discomfort in some serious part of the ODM. And now where life takes them is going to be pretty interesting, knowing too well that also in these events that we've seen the president hosting, like the Nyota events in Kisumu, many leaders addressed it, including Ruth Odinga, the woman representative for Kisumu County, and saying that tuko pamoja, mbele tunaenda. Today she's speaking the language of Edwin Sifuna, saying that indeed who is financing these programs that we're seeing across the country? Why isn't the money coming to the ODM? Is it that wherever it's coming from, in this case, the government, they want to control ODM? So a lot of infighting going on, but at the same time, it's a wake-up call for the political class. What exactly do they want Kenyans to think them of? But like we said last week, Kenyans have this opportunity to analyze, because through it all, whether it's about splitting a cow, about what would have happened in 2027, or about nani hana akili, nani akona akili, you don't see a lot of conversations around how to resolve the challenges that Kenyans are facing at the moment. And they have to really think about it. How do we go about it?
Yeah.
It's never about the people. Because look at it, the president moves with the entire cabinet and governors, some not from the regions that he is at. So who is doing the work? At what time? So like we rightfully indicated last week, it is about time the Kenyan voter decided on what exactly they want for a leader and in leaders. Because what we have currently is largely driven by self-interests. Because the jostling that we see a lot in all these political parties is all about self-preservation and people looking out for themselves. So it's about the Kenyan voter. Is this the best that you can have to represent you? Is there a better? It has to be a decision that needs to be made on August 10th, 2027.
Yeah. Linus, you get to wrap this up.
Okay, I mean, I look at all this as a manifestation of the appreciation of the closeness of Kenyan elections. I think it's a fact that has not been acknowledged by most people except those who actually play the game, and these are the people in politics. You can see that President William Ruto has switched on all the engines. Forget about, I heard you talk about early campaigning earlier. It's on. All the engines are on. You can see the yellow colors are already out there. Because he knows, and let's say this today, he knows very well, and honest Kenyans know that since 2007, no president has been re-elected. I know this can be controversial, but it's a fact. Mwai Kibaki actually lost the 2007 election. Only that extra means came to play to make him president again in 2007. You come to 2017, and Chris Msando dies a few days to the election, and then the system is sort of messed up in a way that even the Supreme Court picked up. And the judges famously asked, where are these numbers from? Where are the numbers coming from? And the election was nullified. So 2 elections there. And we had to go to a fresh one, whose legitimacy as well is a discussion, considering that it was a single candidate race. And we're going into another election, which is a second-term quest for President William Ruto. When I see him working that hard, it's because he knows the facts. Now, when I see the Ososis, I see the Sifunas, the opposition, united opposition, they also know what the numbers look like for re-elections. They are very, very tight. They are actually tight normally against the incumbent, more against than for the incumbent. So this makes it really, really tight, which is why you can see, as for President Ruto, all his engines are on. Every opportunity is a campaign opportunity. Whether it's an official function or not, you have to fight, call others brainless, and they lack agenda and not an alternative, because you know how tight it has been. You just need to look at 2007 and look at 2017 as well, when President Uhuru Kenyatta was going for re-election. Kenyan voters have not been very kind or receptive to incumbency. And this is the reason why you're seeing President Ruto working very, very hard, in the opposition also smelling possibilities. Yeah.
Either way, this is, we're in for the long haul. It's only February. I guess we need to remind everybody, because it feels like we're in November, December.
It's February to the last February to the election.
Exactly.
There's another February election.
Right, yeah. For avoidance.
We're not voting this August.
Yeah, well, could have fooled me. All right, let's finish this up. And today, the gentleman at the far right gets to go first.
Indeed.